Hello and welcome to a brand new Buncey cast on this channel. This is hashtag number 2, and if you haven't checked out hashtag number 1 or the introduction cast, then I suggest you go and do so. Very interesting to see what this is going to be and whether it will be something of your interest. In today's podcast, I'm going to be taking you through some of the teams that I do believe are going to find it very hard in the upcoming Premier League season to get that Premier League status by the end of it and survive. First up today, I'm going to be discussing Southampton, and they finished the season in 17th with just 36 points, and I really do think they are going to struggle in the upcoming Premier League season. They have a lot of inexperienced players, they're going to find it difficult, and just last season their record was 7 wins, 15 draws and 16 defeats, and this really is not a record that they'll be wanting to replicate in the upcoming season. There's going to be teams that are going to be clutching more wins than them, and if they don't do something about it, then I really do think they're going to find it very, very difficult and will most likely be in those bottom 3 relegation teams. Now, don't get me wrong, Southampton do have some very, very talented players. Højbjerg, for example, Fraser Forster, a very, very, very good English goalkeeper, and to name a couple more, Ryan Bertrand, an amazing defender in my opinion. If he stays there or if he goes, he is a fantastic player, and if he did go, then they would have a Matty Targett, but that would annoy a lot of Fulham fans, including me, because that would mean that Matty Targett would most likely start for Southampton, and Fulham would like him back with us. Next up, I've decided to discuss Huddersfield, and they finished the season on 37 points in 16th place, and their record really, really was bad. But before I get onto their record, it really is going to be their year this year to get relegated. I really do think that because the signings they're making, they're just not going to be Premier League proven, and they're really going to find it hard to compete against other teams that are making those big, big signings. They're spending the money, and yeah, Huddersfield are really going to find it difficult. And their record was 9 wins, 10 draws and 19 defeats last season. And again, just like Southampton, this is not a record they're going to want to be replicating going into the next season. They're going to be needing more wins. 9 wins for the season is just not enough. I think that Huddersfield are actually overachieving by even staying up last season for this extra year in the Premier League. I think that 10 draws is a lot of draws to be getting, and without those vital points, then other teams that got relegated definitely would have been able to stay up, because Huddersfield, I don't think they should be still in the Premier League. They don't have the team to compete, and I really do think this is just going to be their year. If they do have a good season, then it'll prove me wrong, but currently looking at the different teams that are going into this season, I definitely believe that Huddersfield are going to be finding it very, very difficult to compete. Moving on to Brighton, who actually finished 15th in the Premier League last season with 40 points, 9 wins, 13 draws and 16 defeats. I think that Brighton again were overachieving by staying in the Premier League, because I do think they have a lot of championship quality players, a bit like Cardiff do going into this season. Brighton do have a lot of championship quality players, and this really will be doing them no favours when they want to be getting those wins, and like last season will only get around 9 wins and will probably only just survive, if not get relegated down back to the Championship. And if Brighton do want to stay up, they need to make a couple more good signings. No doubt they do already have some very talented players in their team. To name one is Criado, a great winger, but I do think they're going to need some more quality in their lineup if they really want to be competing next season. Finishing in 14th place in the Premier League last season was Watford on 41 points, 11 wins, 8 draws and 19 defeats. And I do think that Watford again are definitely going to need to bring in some talent for next season so they can make sure they maintain a mid-table status. And obviously 14th is not a good position to be finishing in the Premier League season anyway, but they are well above relegation zone, and I do like Watford. I hope that they can survive next season. They definitely need extra quality in their team, and I think that if they can get that, they will survive easily when there are other teams in the Premier League like Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Cardiff City and some more. I think Watford are going to be absolutely fine, but they are always going to be one of those teams which you have to look out for. They have championship quality players in their team, and you just have to watch out to see if they start picking up lots and lots of losses on the row and not a win in sight, then they're always going to be on the list of relegation contenders. Moving on to a bit of a controversial decision here, and I'm actually going to be including West Ham in this list, finishing in 13th position last season with 42 points, 10 wins, 12 draws and 16 defeats. Now, I think going into this season, we're definitely going to need to see some more quality from West Ham, but I don't think they're going to get relegated personally. However, again, they're definitely going to be contenders if they start picking up defeat without a win in sight. However, unlike other teams, they actually have a very good Premier League side. I don't think one of their players is championship quality. I think they're definitely going to have to look at improving some areas of their squad, get more depth in. But they did recently sign Ryan Fredericks from Fulham, our right back. Fulham fans loved him. He had a great season last year for Fulham in the Championship, and he is definitely going to be ready for the Premier League, and I would say that because I'm a Fulham fan. However, Ryan Fredericks is a great signing no matter what West Ham fans actually think. Ryan Fredericks is going to bring a lot to their team, and I can't wait to see it. That's just one of the players they've signed. They've actually got some very good signings, and I actually can't wait to see West Ham, how they perform next season. I'd love to see them do well. Definitely better than 13th place. I think they might get higher purely because I think teams like Everton that finish fairly high up the table are not going to be able to replicate that going into the next season. And surprise, surprise, again, at Cardiff City. Are they going to be doing well in the Premier League next season? At the moment, in the current stage of their squad, absolutely not. I think they're going to get relegated 100% at the moment. I said it in the last podcast, I'll say it again. They have far too many championship players in their team, and they're signing far too many championship players. For example, again, Bobby Reid up front. Now, he did have a fairly decent pre-season, however, that is not the Premier League. Going into the Premier League, I think Bobby Reid is definitely going to be a lot like Tammy Abraham. They have a couple good spells here and there, and no disrespect to Bobby Reid whatsoever, he is a very quality striker. However, will he be able to battle it out in the Premier League? I'm not too sure, and Cardiff City definitely need more depth in their team if they want to be staying up, because at the moment I think they're at risk of finishing bottom in the table with hardly any wins at all. Obviously, the other two teams that were promoted last season, Fulham and Wolverhampton. And Wolverhampton, I do think, are going to be absolutely fine. Again, I said it in the last podcast. They're making brilliant signings, and the same goes for Fulham. We're showing great intent in the window. I think we're going to be absolutely fine. When there's other teams like Newcastle, Crystal Palace, and West Ham, Watford, Brighton, Huddersfield, Southampton, to name all of those, I think that Wolves and Fulham are going to do just the same as the Championship teams that got promoted last season, and they're going to survive in the Premier League. Absolutely no doubt about it. However, again, Cardiff City aren't going to be able to replicate that. They're going to be going straight back down. If I have mentioned one of the teams that you support, then let me know in the comments down below why you believe they will survive in the Premier League next season, because you probably know a lot more information about your team than I do. So comment down below why you think you're going to survive in the Premier League season. I'd love to hear from you. Or again, get in touch at BunceyCast on Twitter or email bunceycast@gmail.com. And thank you for coming and listening back again to this podcast. This was hashtag number 2. And the next podcast will be released again when there is more information for me to give out about transfers and all the other gossip in the Premier League. If there is anything that you would like me to discuss, be sure to let me know, and goodbye for now.